Indigenous Rights Radio, because knowledge is power.
The 21st session of the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues is currently underway in New York. In this podcast, we witness an intervention by Galina Angarova on behalf of cultural survival and a coalition of indigenous-led organizations.
I'm here to make an intervention on behalf of cultural survival and a coalition of indigenous-led organizations and draw your attention to so-called transition minerals that are used for electric vehicles and other technologies. We're witnessing the acceleration of the transition to a green, low-carbon, and clean economy, and increasing demand for transition minerals such as nickel, lithium, cobalt, and copper. The skyrocketing demand is driving a wave of investment into new, expanded mining projects. These projects are promoted as green because they aim to supply minerals used for renewable energy technologies in electric vehicles. However, these mining projects risk replicating the same harms of the fossil fuel economy, threatening indigenous peoples' rights and their territories contain the highest concentrations of these metals around the world, and destroying biodiverse ecosystems in the process. Increased mining of these minerals will also lead to conflicts between indigenous communities and mining companies and will exacerbate climate change impacts, as well as these operations are very energy intensive. As indigenous peoples, we have the responsibility and commitment to intervene and make this a just transition, not just for a select few, but for everyone. Just because companies are increasing mining for sustainable outcomes does not mean that there will be zero impacts. In fact, the outcomes will be quite the opposite. They will be enormous. And we can predict that this transition will be done at the expense of indigenous peoples. And the process is already underway, affecting many communities around the world. Therefore, we urge that governments, investors, and companies involved in the new green economy to observe and implement rights enshrined in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, including the right to free, prior, and informed consent. In that spirit, we present the following recommendations to the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. First, the Permanent Forum urges governments to emphasize justice in the transition to the green economy and avoid the future where we have the green economy in some parts of the world and the moonscapes on the lands of indigenous peoples. Therefore, it's important to operationalize the UN Declaration and the right to our self-determination and the right to free, prior, and informed consent. We have to invest in building capacity for indigenous communities on whose lands, territories, and resources the technologies are being developed or planned to be developed. Thank you.
For more on the rights of indigenous peoples, visit cs.org and follow Cultural Survival on Facebook and Twitter.